And it turned out the person had stumbled at the top of a staircase and had fallen downstairs, but the person had had MDA in him, and hence they blamed MDA as a damaging thing.
Hi. First of all, I'd just like to say how great it's been camping with you guys at Entheon Village. I will never forget it. Somebody answered my question while I was waiting in line, but I came up with another one. I was just wondering what you think about polydrug use, whereas it pertains to 2CB and 2CI. An experience I had, whereas I took 2CB and then in the come down I took MDMA, and the crossover between those two was actually rather terrifying. I was just wondering if you have any anything to say on that subject.
I will add one thing. There's nothing there to add to it. I'll make one comment that comes immediately to mind is the idea of mixing drugs. You mentioned this following up with that. A mixture of two drugs is a new drug in my mind. And if you want to make a combination of MDMA, let's say, and 2CT, whatever it was, you have to start, from my point of view, as a brand new drug and start with very small amounts and work yourself up over time with that combination. Because two drugs that are different in their action could very well have a combined action that is not predictable from either one. So it is a new drug and cannot casually be used as a follow-up. This was a very nice trip. I think I'll follow it up with some of that. And it's getting kind of late. I have to smoke a little pot and finish up the day. You're mixing drugs, and you cannot predict from their individual activity what their combined activity will be.
That's very interesting. Where are you? Oh, okay. Right. It's very interesting that you had a 2CB followed by MDMA. Then MDMA, yeah. Because one combination that does work is MDMA followed by 2CB. That was used a lot in therapy, again, before either of them became illegal, in which case you have a reasonable, I thought that was a cat, but it's probably a baby. Oh gosh, no, it's just too hot. If you take the MDMA first, then about 2 hours later you take the 2CB, but you go way down in dosage on the 2CB because the MDMA makes the 2CB effect stronger. But in general, I would go along with Sasha. Of course, we're used to thinking in terms of research. And you never mix drugs if you're doing research because, you come out with no effect that you can depend on. And I've met an awful lot of people who mix drugs all the time, and they could get pretty messed up. I think it becomes really toxic to your body and to your mind.
Hi, thank you for coming out to Black Rock City and bearing the heat with us all. Could you talk a little bit about your experience with ayahuasca, what your experience has been, and how you see it benefiting us?
Let me say first that I have a young relative who believes and feels that ayahuasca is the best teacher that there is for somebody who's on a spiritual path. And a lot of the people we know feel that way. For Sasha and me, again, people are very different, and the chemistry of each body is a little different. Neither of us can really tolerate marijuana, believe it or not. Marijuana gives me a full-fledged psychedelic experience and a pretty paranoid one. And I've tried it many times over, and it still is not my ally. And Sasha feels that he just doesn't learn anything from that. So we don't tripod. The ayahuasca, we had 4 experiences, and usually when you go to some special place to undergo the ayahuasca, they give you a nighttime experience first and then a daytime experience over the weekend. And the first time we tried it, it was a very low level because we are cautious, fraidy cats. And it was perfectly pleasant that I remember. It was pleasant, not the greatest experience in the world, but pleasant enough, so that when we were invited 6 months later to have another try at it, we didn't hesitate. The second time, however, was very interesting. We again took very low level, and Sasha underwent very difficult experience, which is entirely different than mine. Mine was a bit like trying not to get run over by a fast-moving train. There was no way to learn anything except just how to stay alive. That's the way it felt. But an interesting thing happened. This was during the first experience at night. A voice said to me very clearly, "Don't come here again." It didn't mean the place, it meant the drug. And I said, "Okay." And then the next day, we compared notes and discovered we both had a rough time. So we were going to, for the next experience, be very, 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 very cautious and take even lower so that it wouldn't last long, and surely it couldn't do any damage. And it was, for me, it was a repeat of the fast freight train which wanted to run over my head. It didn't last as long. Then the voice came back and said, "Didn't you hear me the first time?" So that was it.
I remember that the latter experience. I had totally different effects from it. I was sitting back and letting my eyes stay closed so I maybe get some visual input. And in the back of my eyes, there was the development of a very dull red color. I was seeing, that was filling my field of vision. And as I watched, it got brighter and brighter red, then it became bright orange, then it became really, really brilliantly yellow, and then it was brilliantly white, actually blinding, almost painfully white. So I opened my eyes to become rational again, and I'd vomit. Then I sit back, and thank goodness that little tub staying right there, because I had this dull red color again, and the whole process was repeated again. The tub began filling with what I had left in my tummy, and I didn't find this to be particularly enlightening. So that was my. I don't know I know the source, but I don't know I did not do an analysis on the actual combination. I don't know really what all was in there.
I'm sorry to report that at this point our mini disc reached its capacity, and so we're going to have to stop here for now. There may be a few more questions and answers that I captured on my cassette tape recorder, but I haven't had a chance to go through all of those tapes yet. And if it turns out that I did get a decent recording of the end of this session, I'll be sure to include it with some of the other Palenque Norte talks in a future podcast. I would like to thank all of you who showed up for this presentation, and again I want to offer my apologies to all of you who were in line to ask a question but didn't have the chance. From the collective groan that I heard when I announced that we'd run out of time, I believe that we probably could still be there peppering Ann and Sasha with a continuous barrage of questions that would probably last until next year's burn. In any event, it was an historic event, as this was the Shulgins' first time to attend a Burning Man festival. And I'm sure that they deeply appreciated the outpouring of love and affection that was so evident in the big tent that day. And to Ann and Sasha, well, there really is no better way for me to say it than to simply say thank you.